Welcome to the 5th episode of the Weekly Word. This week we're having Thanksgiving in the United States, and so I could talk about gratitude or sharing or community, but I think that's a little predictable, so we're going to do something different. Alright, so since millions of pounds of stuffing is about to be consumed, and the main ingredient in stuffing is bread, I thought it would be fun to talk about bread. And that's going to be our word for the week. So we talk about breaking bread. Someone might text you and say, hey, you want to go break some bread? And what does that mean? Basically, you're going to go and have a meal somewhere. And back in the old days when they would end a war, the warring sides would get together and literally break bread to signify the end of the war. And also we could talk about bread with regard to survival. So we need food. Bread is a basic staple food. And so it also could be associated with wealth. So survival goes into wealth. And then these days we might talk about, we got a raise, so we're bringing home more bread. And there's all kinds of ways that we talk about bread. But what I'm going to do today is talk about the more spiritual aspects and dimensions of the word bread. And I'm going to do that from three perspectives, from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Okay, so first of all, with Judaism, you're going to notice here on the altar I have a challah bread. This is a braided bread made with flour and yeast that is used on the Shabbos. But during Passover, which is the holiday that commemorates the Jews leaving Egypt, and when they had to travel over across the desert, and they were leaving in a rush, and there was no time for baking bread like this. They had to make this flatbread, and so during Passover, they'll eat no leavened bread, so it's all got to be unleavened. So no yeast, no kind of baking soda or baking powder or anything like that. And so for Passover during that time, they have matzah. Matzah is like a cracker. It's very thin, kind of crispy, very nice. So those are the different kinds of breads that they have. And they always pray over the bread, and it's very essential. Now, when they were going through the desert, the thing was, Moses led them through the desert out of Egypt, and so they were in a hard way. But God sent down the manna, right? So the manna came down. It's just like bread, stuff, food coming right out of the sky to feed the people. Okay, so now moving on to Christianity. With Christianity, we see bread takes on a whole different dimension. So on one hand, we just have bread, and on another hand, we have something completely different. So I'm going to read to you. I'm going to read to you from the Bible here. I have from John 6, verses 32 to 33. Then Jesus said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread from heaven, but my Father gives you true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." Then they said to him, "Lord, give us this bread always." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall never hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. But I told you that you have seen me, and yet you do not believe." This is interesting because now we see Jesus talking about himself as the bread. And so this is just, it's taking on a whole new thing. And then that was when he was talking to just the general people. But then when he was talking about, when he gave the Lord's Prayer instructions, he started talking about, give us this day our daily bread. And with the Lord's Prayer, we can look at it as having two separate kinds of meanings. And this is the different dimension that comes in with Christianity, especially with the New Testament and the teachings of Jesus. And it's pretty consistent throughout the New Testament. So on one hand, there's the man-centered meaning, and on the other hand, there's God-centered. So when he says, "Give us this day our daily bread," he's talking about, okay, on the man-centered side, this is about our food, our survival, the things what we want, the things, the comfort things in our life, physical things. But on the God-centered side, give us this day our daily bread. This means something a lot deeper. This is about the spiritual aspect of being. This is food for the spirit, food for the soul. It's a different kind of bread. It's not the physical, it's spiritual. This is about the spiritual life, and the daily bread is the spiritual life and doing the spiritual practices every day. So with the two meanings, we can see that the Lord's Prayer really, it doesn't matter if you are following any religion. It doesn't really matter, it only matters if you believe in God. And you can get to an enlightened state. If you go on the God-centered side and you follow it, you don't have to be practicing any kind of dogma or any kind of specific religion. You just have to have a faith in God and a desire to know that spirit, to know that ultimate being, right? To reach that enlightened state. And that's the deeper meaning. But, I think I get into a deep dive on the Lord's Prayer another day. So similarly, with Islam, we see that bread is sacred. Bread is the food. Bread is considered to be a gift from God, as all food. And so bread is a sacred thing, a gift from the sacred. And it is considered a really bad thing if you waste it. So if you drop a piece of bread on the floor, you can pick it up and see if it's clean enough to eat. And if not, you can share it with birds. So no food is to be wasted. No food is to be thrown in the garbage. In Islam, it's considered very unethical to do that. And so it has a very deep spiritual meaning, like the other religions that we just discussed. And so this is what I wanted to share with you about the bread. I have some panda yoga in the front here that I made with goat cheese earlier today. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. And now you can go and eat your stuffing. But however you break your bread, have a nice holiday. Take some time to think about what I said. And share it with your friends maybe. Share it with family. And have a great time. And enjoy. So remember, our words have power. Shanti Shanti is bringing peace to your journey. So send in your questions and comments. And check back next time for another episode of the Weekly Word. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, if you're celebrating. If not, have a great week. We'll talk soon. Om Shanti.